Right. Hello. You can hear me all right, I hope? So yes, I've been involved in Japanese traditional folk song, minyo, and other Japanese musics since the 1970s, so quite a while. You can see me in the right and left pictures back in around 1980 doing field work, and more recently just having fun in a minyo sakaba in Tokyo. When I started this research, one of the themes I ran across part of the time that I won't talk about today is a concept called no hon shugi, or agrarianism. And I've realized that Nomoto Sensei is going to talk about that later, so that's nice. Okay, now to the actual paper. So these are just a few of the topics that could come up in a discussion of Japanese folk song, particularly if I had a lot more time. Let's just check the time. Okay. You can just look at them, but Nihongo de mo, Engo de mo dozo. Identity, local and national, authenticity, transmission, preservation, tourism, globalization, and the impact of government policy, etc., etc. Some of these will come up now. Maybe we can discuss them later if necessary. Minyo, this is the word we use now for so-called traditional Japanese folk song. So to help my dojitsuyaku, I should actually look at my notes here. Here is a scholarly definition from 1966 by Asano. Minyo are songs which were originally born naturally, shizenni, within local folk communities, and as they have been transmitted, have continued to reflect naively the sentiments of daily life. And I've tried to write most of what I'm saying up on the board here. When he says naturally, what he means is we don't have professional specialist composers. These just grow out of the community somehow, these songs. They're passed on to other communities orally, and as they are transmitted orally, they just change naturally. Now, there are many, many types of traditional folk song. I've listed a few of those categories: work songs, dance, party, ritual, long narrative songs. These used to be particularly fun when performed by traveling goze, blind female musicians around the north of Japan, etc., etc. Drinking songs, yes. And some of these still retain their original functions and contexts, but many, such as many of the work songs, of course, no longer do we do this work by hand. Machines take it over. Now here's a saying. I actually used this as part of the title of my PhD thesis long ago. Folk song is the heart's hometown. Minyo wa kokoro no furusato. And the whole idea of a furusato is fairly up for debate now. It used to mean that's where you were born and raised, but so many people now have been born and raised in big cities, and they don't really know if they have a furusato. But in one way, Benedict Anderson, writing about Indonesia, said the whole nation was an imagined community. And this is often what happens in Japanese new towns, etc. You have to have furusato zukuri. You have to make your new neighborhood feel like a furusato. Or you have a machi zukuri. You have to build a sense of community. Moving on, the word minyo itself comes from German Volkslied, the German Romantic movement. Around the 1880s, the Japanese started using this word particularly. They used to have other words that simply meant country song. But who are the folk, das Volk, the Min, the Tami? Who are they? And right now it's hard to say, but usually they imply the peasantry, the countryside, the farmers, the fishers, and this is where no hon shugi could come in also. But a warning, there's a song, Furusato. So many people call this a minyo. I don't know if you know what it is when you hear it, but Usagi oishi kanoyama. I always thought, Usagi oishi, Usagi dondemo. You don't know oishi. But anyway, anyhow, that is not a minyo. That is a doyo, or maybe you can call it a shogaku shoka. It's written in Western music style, a nanao onkai, 7 tones and 3/4 meter. Not a minyo. Also, folk song is a whole different genre in Japan. guitar plucking, singing, often influenced by Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, way, way back. That's not minyo. There's a world of difference, as described in my book, Traditional Folk Song in Modern Japan. Okay, a few examples of traditional folk song with recordings, if we're lucky. Let's see, read your notes, David. Dance songs still survive very nicely. This is Nikko Warato Odori coming up in Nikko. And I was there in 1979 and made this recording and took this photo. They would dance all night long. Bon dances still survive fairly well in Japan. It's one traditional type of minyo that still has a place. Let's hear what this sounds like. The young men, the young women have different approaches. The men are running around, the teenage boys, they're kind of going, hoi, hoi. And the women, the young girls, are dancing a little more smoothly, and they're going, and the adult dancers are different again. And anyway, it might sound like this. No, come on, stupid thing. Ah.
You can sing them for us.
Okay, here we go. Maybe hard to hear. Anyway, that's a bon dance, and you've probably heard plenty of bon dances. If you look on the internet, this dance is still going on in Nikko. Lots of tourists come on buses and take part in this stuff. Okay, now then, work songs. Now, okay, read your notes, David. This is a barley threshing song from Sagamihara, not too far from here. They call it bo-chiuta. They use a kururi bowl to strike the mugi and get the outside off of it. This was mechanized long ago, but there is a hozonkai, a preservation society, to keep this going. And they do it for nostalgia, for local pride, for community education, etc. And it's quite lively. I recorded this around 1980, if we can hear it. Quiet, but all right, it's louder than that in real life. And then, very different type of song that can also survive. We might call it a relaxation song or just a sakamori-uta or whatever. Up in Iwate, back around 1988, I took this picture, afternoon ochakai. There's no official dance or work or ritual function, they just have fun. These old folks, too old to work in the fields or do other jobs, so every day they get together and talk and maybe sing and dance, particularly when the gaijin comes to do research. Boy, this thing just... It worked a second ago, and it might sound like this. Very strong local dialect pronunciation too. Caused me lots of problems researching in Iwate. Once they sang a very hiwai nauta, a very kind of sexy song, the old ladies, and they all started laughing. And I said, what was that verse about? And they all looked at me and said, we can't tell you. Oh, okay. So anyway, then there are here's one example of a wedding song, which used to be sung while the bride's trousseau was being carried from her home to the grooms, maybe in the next village, Tansu Nagamochi, so it's called Nagamochi Uta. Now they don't do that anymore, but if you have a formal wedding ceremony, maybe you can hire a professional folk singer to sing this song for you with shakuhachi accompaniment. Let's see if we get lucky on this button. Modern new contexts for a folk song include, aside from paying someone to sing at your wedding, television, of course, the media, has been very important since the early 20th century in passing on minyo. We have recordings from even the 1890s, in fact, made by European companies, though. Here's a film crew, and I think this was 1980, in a little village outside of Kitakami, Iwate. And these are big city professional musicians from Morioka, all wearing very formal clothes, but they're standing in front of a barn, a lot of hay, a bunch of fake daffodils down in the front, the fake flowers, and they're singing a traditional song, but with all the modern Japanese traditional instrument accompaniments. So this is what I like to call pseudo-authenticity. What I can't always tell is, does this make minyo more popular with young people or less popular? Who knows? Well, actually, I've written about this a lot, but I have not got time to give you all the theories. Then there are Hozonkai preservation societies. And already back in the, you see here, there was the Koshaji Hozono to preserve temples and shrines. Then some musicians thought, well, what about our old songs? Including Heikei Biwa at this time. We have to hozon, we have to preserve our music too, our intangible heritage. This led to the whole UNESCO program eventually. And now there are several hundred of these hozonkai around Japan, mainly for one song. So you have the Bouchi Uta hozonkai for that barley song. Now I just have this last line. It makes me think occasionally about the word hozon. Never mind the butterfly. Okay. Now, how about the impact of government support, intervention, etc.? Sakamoto in the mountains of Yoshino is what we call a Genkai Shuraku, a village on the edge of extinction. There's now less than 30 people living there. Back in the 1950s, there were 2,000, and then they built a dam for a big reservoir. Then it shrunk down. When I first went there in 1979, 200 people. When I went there 3 years ago, 50, and when I talked to them 2 months ago, 30 people left. They were going to give up on their Momodori. The best singer, he was 72 years old, I think it was, and he just said, I can't sing anymore. So they gave up. But then Morimoto-san from the Nara Ken Bunkazai Nantoka, Morimoto from the Cultural Ministry of Nara Prefecture, came with me to dinner with a bunch of the people from Sakamoto, and he tried to convince them not to give up. You must somehow keep your cultural heritage, maybe combine with another village nearby to make a larger festival to attract tourists, get some local government support. So they finally said, okay, gambarimasu. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But at least the local Morimoto-san at the Kencho tried hard. We shall see. Tsukudajima is a different story. This is in the harbor of Tokyo. If this Bomodori was designated as a Tokyo cultural property, Tokyo To Muke Bunkazai, and the Chuoku office advertises it as a tourist event. In 2009, the head of the Hozonkai told me he was not happy with tourists coming, especially the many people running around with video cameras. You can see in the bottom here one tourist with his camera. This was earlier in the evening. Later there might be 300 dancers around this tower. Singer with kaito, that's all. But he said, we don't want tourists. You know, it's a bother. This is for us, it's local. So there are different attitudes about when you're preserving your local tradition. Do you want to do this for yourselves, or because your community needs tourism, or government financing, or what? A lot of different views about this. Another phenomenon that links to tourism, preservation, survival, and local pride, single-song national contests. So here we are in Sawauchi, up in the mountains of Iwate, and they're having a Zenkoku Taikai for Sawauchi Jinku, their local most popular song. There are over 100 of these single-song contests in Japan. This one only goes for one day. About 100 people took turns singing the same song, one after the other. And then the judges decide who get the prizes. Up in Esashi, in Hokkaido, the Esashi Oiwake Zenkoku Taikai has been going now for about 54 years, 55. And they now go for about 4 days, and they've got over 500 people singing the same song, one verse for about 2.5 minutes, very drawn out. Same song. I listened one day 15 years ago to 264 people sing the same song, one after the other. And then the next day, 50 came back for the final battle. It's wonderful, and that song is very popular among anyone who likes minyo. If you don't like it, so am I. Okay, now the phenomenon of new folk songs. How do we add to the repertoire of minyo? So, shin minyo is the word that used to be used. So, the furusato now is often, in the more recent shin minyo, it's not just a village somewhere, as most folk songs are linked to communities. Now it's the whole of Japan quite often. We imagine Japan as one community. So the names of the new songs, instead of having something like Suzuka Kouta, named after one town, it's the happiness song, the peace song, the blue sky song. You can see all that. The themes are all modern. Peace, hope, world, spring, meaning not spring in the air, young, prosperity, future, tomorrow, cheerful, dream. And they tend to be in a kind of pentatonic major scale with Western chords and harmony and instruments. They sound much more modern. And a man and woman sing together to unify Japan. Here's just one example, if we get lucky again, from 1970, Dai Tokyo no. Tokyo is now an imagined community too. Most people in a danshi don't even know their neighbors. But a song like this is trying to give us a sense. We belong to Tokyo. Tokyo is us, all of us together. Okay, quick example, Sora Mushi. There's a song most normal people know. You don't have to be a minyo fan to maybe have heard this. Here are just 4 very quick, short excerpts, if it works. This used to be a fishnet hauling song. You'd move all the herring from a big net up into the boat with a kind of butterfly net that was just huge. Argue with me again, is it? Okay, hold on. You win. That is what it would have sounded like originally. That recording is from 1936, but then it became a stage minyo, as we call it. So here is what you get on stage. You've got the shamisen accompaniment, etc., and you have a woman singing. Now those old fishing boats were nyonin kinze, no women allowed on the boats. Never mind. etc. That's the version most people hear. Ito Takio has struggled very hard, as he used to be a totally traditional folk singer. Now he wants to make folk song appeal to the general modern populace. He makes many very creative versions of minyo, and young people really like it. He first heard this song up in Hokkaido when his father was in the bath drinking sake and just singing it very slowly. So Ito sometimes sings it like this. That won't work too well if you're hauling a net, but there you go. I guess I'll have to stay with this smaller version of the screen here for success. And then the famous Yosakoi Soran that so many people know about. This is a festival that's been, who knows what this is going to do, stop that. But let's just listen to this. You have to dance in this festival. Yosakoi Soran up in Sapporo might have 400 teams dancing. They started in 1992. Now there are about 2 million tourists who come for this event every year, and about 45,000 dancers in June for 5 days. They make so much money out of the tourists. Well, here we have a nice little tune. Mitsubishi Ladies Group. So of course they sing that in sort of. Mitsubishi Ladies. Mitsubishi Ladies. Gotta keep on moving on. Okay. Nani? Gotta keep on moving on. Sure, okay. All right. So that was just an example of 4 very different ways of taking a traditional folk song. We have the original Hozonkai version, unaccompanied, like it would have been done 100 years ago. We have the stage version. Then we begin to get the Western fusion and then the Western confusion. Sorry, Doji Tsuyak-san, I just keep making this. Okay, now finally, to the theme for my last few minutes is the Nihon Minyo Kyokai, Japan Folk Song Association, created in 1950 for lovers of traditional song. They've set up a number of different contests, not only for their 40,000 members, but for many other people. And I've listed some of the names. Tsugaru Jamisen part, general traditional folk song and dance part, Western and Japanese instrument fusion part, children's part, etc. Here's just a couple of things they do. The children's group, the Utaemo is the one they finally came up with a name for. Children from birth through middle school. I've seen as young as 3-year-olds on stage there. There's a picture of 2 of the children backed up by professional people who teach them every month to sing. Anyway, once a month they practice. Their parents bring them to the Nihon Minyo Kyokai near Shinagawa. And here's a guy who was probably 9 or 10 years old, won first prize in their children's contest a couple of years ago, singing a traditional minyo. Well, that's pretty nice anyway. He sang more than that, I must tell you. Okay, because of time, I move ahead. They also have what they call Hakutsu Minyo, excavated minyo. So if you can find a song that has died out in your village or town, but you can somehow revive it, then they have a contest for that. There's a song here which was sung while pulling logs made from tree trunks to Kyoto, all the way from Ishikawa Prefecture, back in the 1880s. It's all up here on the screen, I think. And they somehow found a recording in 1975 of this song, revived it, and sang it. And anyhow, you can see what the lyrics were like. Let's see if we can get the briefest of taste. We're not going to. Never mind that one. It's just so you'll know that they do this. They find old songs that would sound kind of like the Soran Bushi we heard unaccompanied, but they haven't been sung in that village for 100 years or more, and yet they're reviving it. Then they have newly composed songs, but different from Dai Tokyo Undo. It has to be traditional. You see the conditions. They must incorporate a region's local color, lifeways, industry, tourist sites, etc. So somebody wrote one down in Kumamoto called Kikuchigawa Ikara Nagashi Uta, riding the raft down the Kikuchi River, carrying people and baggage and products, etc. And it sounds very traditional. So they've added a shakuhachi. Songs like this survive in other parts of Japan from their early work song versions. And the question is, will this be accepted as a minyo and will they continue to sing it? When you hear this, if you know your minyo, it sounds totally traditional, which is the point. They wanted to make new traditional songs. Okay, 3 more slides. They also have their fusion. I love this. If you look at those characters, wa fusion, wa, fu, jo, oh, it's hard to see. But anyway, they told me they pronounce that wa fujon, and it means you're mixing Japanese and Western music. You know, you've already heard one example, kind of like that, so I don't have an example. But they also support this. They're trying to reach the westernized Japanese audience and get them into more interest in folk song. So many of the people who play in these mixed groups, if you're the shakuhachi player playing with the electric guitar and the drum kit, in other contexts you will play traditional minyo as well. And finally, I think, the Nihon Minyo Kyokai also licenses teachers. They have exams, it's just like for flower arranging or anything else. And then, because the Gakushu Shiro Yoryo, the national curriculum, the national course of study, now requires middle school students to have some experience of playing a traditional instrument. Sometimes it's only 5 hours or less in the whole middle school history. And also trying to sing in a traditional voice. Music teachers still struggle to do this at the schools. So the Minyo Kyokai has sent to every place in the country, to every education department, a list of their local members who could come in and maybe teach at these schools. And sometimes the schools actually hire them to do this. So this is an attempt at joining in on the national curriculum, taking advantage of that to spread interest in Minyo. Okay, that's it except for these 2 pictures. Local pride can encourage and intervene. Here we have in Sado Island, 2003, Hamochi High School. Sado Island is rich in traditional folk songs. Also the Taiko Kodo is based there. So the students there, even without a lot of pressure from their teachers, seem to like some of their local minyo. At this school, back in 2003, 52 of 58 students chose to learn to play, sing, and dance Aikawa Ondo and Sado Okesa rather than doing karate. In Tokyo, it would have been the other way around. And then to conclude, this example, family environment is also important. Oya Yuzuri. Many of the young people who enjoy minyo today do it because they have a relative who did it. They learn to like it before their young friends told them they're supposed to hate it. So this is an example, a folk song bar now closed, I'm sad to say, 3 years ago, in Osaka. Oyako Sandai, the grandparents founded it. Their son married a young woman who was also a folk person. They play shamisen and sing. Their 2 daughters are over on the right of that slide, 7 years old and 11. And Miyune on the left, 17 months old. The little girl you can almost see. Hello, Miyune. There she is. There's her mother. has her right hand up in the air with the stick. Her mother has her right hand up in the air. Mommy is teaching 17-month-old Miyune to play the taiko at 11 p.m. in a folk song bar. And my last example to close, Akari I first heard sing when she was 13 months. Her aunt held her up to the microphone. Her mother played shamisen, and Akari sang. And what did she sing? My favorite folk song. Ah, ah, ah. And that was it. Thank you very much.